Hello again and welcome along to Factory Talk. Now this week we are talking about vehicle manufacturing. It's something that the UK has a long and proud history in. And my guest today is the CEO of Venari Group, Oliver North. The company is a specialist manufacturer of vehicles used by the emergency services, and it's based in Brighouse in West Yorkshire. Oliver, good to talk to you. Let's find out a little bit more about the company then. So give us a brief history and tell us what you're actually involved with at the moment.
Hi, Richard. As you said, I'm Oliver North, CEO of Venari Group. We're headquartered in Brighouse in West Yorkshire. We also have another factory over in Goole in the East Riding of Yorkshire. And as you said there, we manufacture specialist emergency vehicles, predominantly ambulances and fire trucks.
So how did you get into this business? Because looking into your background a bit, you were in the military at one time.
Yeah, that's right, Richard. I served just short of 7 years in the Royal Engineers, where I had a fantastic 7 years, to be honest. I decided to go into the military to get my experience as opposed to university, rightfully or wrongly. They taught me some great skills in engineering, in mechanics, and ironing and polishing shoes, and yeah, it was a very steep learning curve throughout every aspect. I was lucky enough to be promoted quite quickly and successively. So, a relatively short time I had in there, I got to experience some really enjoyable things, to be honest.
Now, was it there that you found out or started to develop an interest in vehicle manufacture, and particularly the type of vehicles that you're involved in, as you say, ambulances, fire engines, or did that come afterwards?
Yeah, I'd agree with that, Richard. As in, being in the Royal Engineers as a plant operator mechanic, I was at the time I was essentially a kid. I was a 17-year-old teenager when they gave me my heavy goods driving license. So all of a sudden I could drive trucks and then big piece of complicated plant machinery and bulldozers and all that kind of thing. So I quickly became fascinated in vehicles and the machinery that comes with the vehicles as well, hydraulics and sophisticated electronics. Really, I suppose, kind of the more efficient the vehicle, the more efficient the person using it is. And, good, sophisticated manufacturing really can make a difference on the front line, whether it's for the military or for the emergency services. So it was definitely that got me interested in improving vehicle technology. Yeah.
That's really interesting, actually, because we normally expect people to either go to university or go through an apprenticeship. We don't often talk about the military as a possible route into manufacturing, but you've proven that is a way through.
Yeah, I'd say so. As in, I think the one thing that it taught me in particular was, the leadership aspect around consistently improving the technology that you're working with in terms of reliability and efficiency. Coupled together with that, the team you're working with, and then following the promotions and becoming a leader of these really good teams in there. I became kind of obsessed with all aspects, whether it was leadership and the technical aspects. So it's really served me, I think, personally, ideally. Well, obviously, it gives you the hunger and the desire to win as well, and there used to be a famous phrase in there that goes along the lines of "it pays to be a winner," and I suppose it just gives you that bit of competitiveness that you should always try and improve something or try and win at what you're doing, I suppose.
Yeah. What would you say you need to, or what are the what's the military looking for from you to move through that route?
I mean, the military caters for, I'd say, people with with different directions, and it will allow you to go as far as you want to go, or as slowly as you want to go, really. So, and neither is right or wrong, So I think it's supportive of people who want to maintain a more consistent or a more gradual approach, and equally those who want to push themselves every single minute of every single day to drive growth as quickly as possible.
Something I think is really interesting in Factory Talk is to get a little bit of background, not just of the company and what you do now, but also to the person. As you know, a couple of weeks ago, we spoke to Nick English at Bremen Watchmakers. He told us about a personal tragedy that really played a part in his career. Whilst it's not exactly the same, you had to deal with an event as well, which let's be honest, it would have floored most people. So, but you had to deal with that at a particularly difficult stage of your career.
Yeah, that's right. I really enjoyed last week's interview with Nick. Really impressive organisation and character, clearly, and I suppose it struck a few chords with me when I'd set up my first company. At the time, I was a one-man band with no investment really, and I lost my mum very tragically, and I had found her, and it was pretty it was a pretty tough experience, but being a one-man band and with a mortgage to pay and a young son who was 2 months old at the time to provide for, I had to put it into a box and go out and perform, and I had no choice. There was no sick, there was no leave, there was none of that when you're a self-employed person, of course. And if you choose to take the risk into setting up your organisation, then that's one of the downsides that comes along with it, of course. So but nothing is about it was do I ever look back and think, oh, it's bad luck, or that was meant to happen. And I think when your back is against the wall, sometimes the only way to progress is to come out kind of swinging. So
yeah,
and maybe it got me in the right frame of mind to keep stay in the same gear, driving forward.
As you said, that was very early on in your career. Let's focus on the now, if you're happy to move on, and we talk about your current company. As you said, you build ambulances, you build fire trucks. I mean, how specialised is this?
I mean, these are absolutely specialised pieces of machinery, really. As in, I think in the United Kingdom, I think we've got and I've seen Europe-wide and globally as well, the other countries' emergency services around the world. I think we're genuinely blessed to have such an incredible, emergency services, whether it's ambulance with the NHS Ambulance Trust, the fire and rescue services, and the police constabularies. However, one thing that's not so common globally, I'd say, is there are companies around the world that are either ambulance manufacturers or fire engine manufacturers. So fortunately, we do both. Over 2 factories, and Venari Group was actually initially created to acquire ONH Vehicle Technology, which is our ambulance division in East Yorkshire, which is it's the most established ambulance manufacturer in the UK. So it's really proud. I'm very proud to lead that company as an organisation.
Let's stick with the ambulance side of things for the time being, if we can. Now, during our discussions before the programme, you told me the NHS imports about 3/4 of the ambulances that it uses. Is that just because we can't build enough in the UK?
No, absolutely not, Richard. No, as in, I think for whatever reason, I'm not too sure. As in, my more comprehensive background is in the fire and rescue service, which is where I've been for the last 15 years. I only entered the ambulance market when I entered O&H as the turnaround managing director initially. And I saw a market that it was completely opposite of the fire market. The UK fire market predominantly uses UK manufacturers who are very good, to be honest. The ambulance NHS ambulance trusts, they do tend to import more ambulances than not throughout the UK, which, you know, I took that as a personal challenge to change, because this is taxpayers' money that is being spent on these things. And my first company, North Fire, was bought out by a huge continental European company back in the day, which at the time was right. But then once Brexit was announced, you know, I didn't have the same fire in my belly to compete against UK manufacturing, really. As I said early on, my passion is for manufacturing and UK manufacturing, obviously being British. And so, yeah, predominantly we're importing ambulances. It's around about 75% at the moment, but, you know, we fully intend on changing that.
So why then does the NHS look overseas for 3/4 of the ambulances that it uses?
I'm sure a few years ago there may have been an element of quality. However, you know, with where a couple of UK ambulance manufacturers are at present, not only ourselves, you know, we're every bit as good as anything else. But obviously, EU procurement law plays a huge part in it. You know, we're all aware that according to EU procurement law, someone from Southern Ireland or Germany is just as entitled to supply something into the United Kingdom. And when it's funded by UK taxpayers, I always find that there's a bit of a discrepancy there in terms of, you know, the prices are very comparable. In most cases, the UK manufacturers can come in lower in price. So I just think, you know, with we were speaking about this the other day with Stuart, actually, from Jefferson. But for every pound spent with British engineering companies, such as ourselves and the other manufacturers, for every pound spent, it generates £2.45 back into the UK economy. So if you had a look at the UK ambulance market over the next 5 years, that need to procure 3,500 ambulances, for example, let's say there's an average cost there of the conversion element, less the chassis, which will be brought in from mainland Europe. You know, £50,000 for the manufacturing element, let's say, times 3,500 ambulances. You know, you've got £175 million worth of spend of taxpayers' money. But then once you multiply that by £2.45, as per the Engineering UK study from 2015, then that creates in the 428.75 million in revenue generation for the UK economy. And now we're talking about, you know, a very, very much a cottage industry in the ambulance market. You know, it's and to know that over the next 5 years, you know, there's that kind of revenue generation for the economy. You know, not to mention the employment, the increases in employment. It's exponential. So it's worth looking at, you know, from
let's talk about if we can. I just want to move on and talk about if you sit and watch an old film, I don't know, an old British film or whatever, and the ambulances and the fire engines used to come rolling up. They're pretty unrecognisable from anything you see today. I mean, an ambulance at one stage, it was pretty much just a bed to hospital. Now you look at an ambulance inside, it's almost like a small emergency ward on wheels. The technology that goes into these vehicles, fire and ambulance, is astonishing these days, the transformation.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say, Richard, as you know, if we were to look at the you know, sophistication of a car or a laptop, you know, 10 years ago in comparison to now, it's obviously exponential now, but it's the same with the emergency vehicles. You know, not to mention the competencies and the skill sets of our firefighters and ambulance technicians and paramedics is, those groups of people added in with increases in technology. And yeah, as you say, they're almost mobile hospitals, and it's only growing. We can really use some sophisticated technology to ensure that we save more lives, and the emergency services are ever more efficient, and the people crewing the machines and the vehicles are safer themselves as well.
Finally, Oliver, one thing that's really come through during our chat is your belief, your passion for British manufacturing. What's your message then to manufacturers in this country? What sort of schemes, what sort of innovations should we be looking for moving forward? Ideas like Factory Now that we're involved in. Do you think these are the ways we should be looking to move forward as the UK changes, as we move out now completely, as Brexit completes?
Mm-hmm. You know what? I honestly think historically we're a very polite nation, number one, and when we're talking about we should be buying British and British manufacturing, as a polite nation, we think maybe we don't want to upset our continental partners. However, we will always trade with the continent and really healthily. We've got plenty of partners overseas that we work amazingly well with, but I genuinely think things that can be manufactured in the UK as well as what we import, we should always give the benefit of the doubt to the UK manufacturers. As in, I think there's a reason why 7 out of the 10 Formula One teams are based in the UK, and we've got such good manufacturers. As in, we really do need to break down those divides between shop floor and management, and put any past strikes, etc., really historic manufacturing culture to one side. Start again, roll our sleeves up, and build things. We're great at building things, and the more we build, the more employment there is, the more prosperity, the stronger the NHS will be funded, and the better it'll be for everyone, really.
Oliver, that if there was a closing remark that could have been written, that was it. Thank you so much for being on Factory Talk this week. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. And just to say that if any of you want to chat back on any of the previous editions of the show, they're all available on MTD MFG. That's it for this week then. I'll see you with Factory Talk again next week. Have a good week. Bye-bye now.